And the emotion was there. You probably saw Rachel Reeves, who was visibly upset when Keir Starmer wrote out the benefit cuts in the UK Parliament. However, the conclusions were as quick and incorrect as they were to be expected. The first conclusion, of course, was you can't show any kind of being visibly upset when you're the Chancellor to the Exchequer. You always should sort out your emotions, never show any emotions in public. And the other group saying you need to be authentic, always okay to show emotions, always show anything you have on your soul, show it to the general public, it's all fine. Surprise, surprise, simple solutions in complex environments are never correct. And this is no exception to this rule. Very important here. As soon as anything is simplistic, it is usually not the right answer. We are going to talk about today about emotions and leadership and emotions in business. Very important here to get the definition right. There is no business which is only free enterprise driven by which bills need to be paid or whatever. It is very important here. What we're talking about is any kind of organization. You can be a charity, you can be a political party, you can be a non-profit organization, but you can also be free enterprise, stock exchange listed, all kinds of organizations. So we cover anything from the absolutely non-profit via politics to public service, anything. Very important, I'm going to quote a couple of media situations here. Everything of that is, of course, fair use, and that means it's fully protected. And also, of course, I can quote just to show you that this actually happened. When we talk about emotions and leadership, very important here is we need cases. So case number one is, as I just told you, Rachel Reeves in the UK Parliament, Chancellor to the Exchequer, who then says, when she was questioned about it, what made you so upset? Because people thought after the Labour Party was arguing for weeks and weeks ongoing, then people thought it's all about the argument. She is just frustrated. She probably doesn't agree on the politics. She doesn't agree on the welfare cut. She has a very different opinion on it. People thought this is genuine disagreement. And when she was asked about it, she said it was a personal matter. So something completely outside of politics, which of course surprised many people. Some people said, oh, it's a cheap excuse. Other people said it's very reasonable to have these kind of reactions. And then it was ongoing from there. The second case we have is a German TV host. Markus Lanz is his name. He has one of the most well-watched TV talk shows. Every single evening it's on air from Monday to Friday. And he had Sarah Wagenknecht at his show. Sarah Wagenknecht, a far left-wing politician, today in a new populist party she founded. And a couple of years he had her there, and he very much kicked off at her. Very, very obviously, it was very obvious to anyone who watched that he doesn't like her politics. Well, as a self-employed entrepreneur, I don't support that far left-wing party as well, especially as their politics are not backed by any kind of science, facts, or evidence. It simply wouldn't work. It's just populist left-wing. I neither like populist left-wing nor right-wing. Both are the absolute utter nonsense. However, when you are a German TV host, is it acceptable that you show these kind of emotions, that you're obviously disgusted by someone, that you obviously do not support someone's politics? Is that acceptable for a publicly funded TV station? Question mark. And the third case we have here is UK football, a pretty bad tragedy which just happened last week. Diogo Jota from FC Liverpool died in a tragic car accident, only being 28 years old. And of course, when the next football game happened, they had a minute of silence for him, and they thought of him, and you saw players as well as officials and the fans being visibly upset. So these are emotions where also, of course, we see emotions publicly. So three very different cases where we need to talk about what are the aspects of showing emotions in public and what are also the consequences of that. So first, let's talk about the aspects we have here. The aspects we have here, of course, is number one, yourself. You have to take care of yourself first. However, it is not only about yourself, because as soon as you are somehow visible in the general public, expect a public reaction. However, it always has to be number one, take care of yourself. And when you say, I am really affected by this, by a personal matter, I cannot keep my emotions outside the meeting room, outside the parliament room, or wherever you have to go, then probably it's better to either say you're participating online or you're not participating at all. When you say it is not reasonable to put these emotions on display because people might draw wrong conclusions, whole markets might be affected, customers might be affected, your business might be affected, organizations might be affected, people might draw all the wrong conclusions from it, maybe take a day off work or a week or a month, as much as you need. Very important is take care of yourself first, because you have to see that there's always the next step, and these are your circumstances. No one of us exists outside circumstances. The circumstances you have here is, for example, your political party. what kind of picture will people derive from your action here? Will it harm others? So, for example, and by the way, that's not the last bit. The most brutal part are usually the wider circumstances when you, and I tell you from my referee experience, as soon as the general public starts to do an online beating with you, it's not going to be pleasant. I can tell you that. Even in business, when you have something where people talk down on you in the most brutal way, it's not easy to handle. I can tell you. You get used to it in one way or the other, especially when they are unreasonably wrong, which they mostly are. However, you have to see that the wider circumstances will judge you in one way or the other. You may like it or not like it, still they will judge you if you like it or not. So what do you have to do now? Let's say in the UK Parliament, you can take care of yourself. Your circumstances will be a political party. The wider circumstance will be the UK economy, even on an international basis. So when people say, she's so upset, what's wrong with the numbers? Is the UK in financial trouble? Is the Labour Party unable to govern the country? Are they unable to agree within their own party? Are they unable to lead the country? And that, of course, is something you do not want to have as a discussion. So probably, as much as it is understandable when Rachel Reeves said it's a personal matter, I probably think it's a better idea not to be seen in public in that situation in tears, because people will always conclude you disagree with your party leader, you're not aware of what's going on, you're not in control of the country, and especially you're not in control of the finances, and that is your number one job, to take care of the numbers, to be sure that the country becomes financially more stable. And then the wider circumstances always will mean that people from your opposition will tear you apart on social media, anywhere online, any discussion, any interview, plus the media landscape you have in the UK, which is pretty brutal. So when you have that, you harm others as well. So be aware that it's not only about you. Take care of yourself, but be aware as soon as you go to public, it's not only about you. From there, when we go to the German TV host, is it okay to be aggressive towards someone you simply politically disagree with? The conclusion here can simply be that people say, I knew it. This is how public TV stations are unnecessarily aggressive and they are not impartial. Or people will even go further and say, this is how everyone on TV is. Or they go even further and say, this is how everyone in the media is. Or they go even further and say, anyone who publishes, any journalist, exactly like that, they are all not impartial, but they pretend to be. So you can harm a whole industry with your behavior, especially when you are well known. Be aware that from yourself to your circumstances to the wider circumstances, discussion happens if you like it or not. So in my opinion, it is not acceptable to show this kind of aggression on TV. You may or may not agree on the political party program or manifesto they have, and then ask smart questions and expose what they did wrong. Of course, when you have a party which is not democratic, doesn't want to have democracy out there, wants to be on the fascist side, you can call them out left, right, and center, because we all want to live in any reasonable person wants to live in a democracy. And with the third case in UK football, that's a good example how positive impact is designed. So you see people crying on TV, and for the first time, many people said, finally, someone in football shows emotions, and it's not about winning a game, winning a tournament, being the winner of anything, or the very, very few moments where people are allowed to show negative emotions, in high commas, negative emotions. For example, crying on TV when they, for example, got relegated or lost the cup final. Usually, football is known for being pretty toxic regarding emotions, especially toxic masculinity. This moment, although it's a tragedy, and we really hope that Diogo Jota, his family and friends, anyone, I wish them a lot of strength in these extremely hard times now, and his team, anyone around that tragedy. I really wish them all the best. These bereavements are extremely hard. What they have done well is they have shown that emotions can happen, and they can happen in public to make a change for the better. And that happened in exactly this case, because many people then said, look, it is possible to show emotions. We have to get rid of this toxic masculinity, stiff upper lip, man up, whatever else they usually say. It is possible to show emotions, and this is the way how to do it. Of course, now, when you see reactions 1, 2, and 3, you wonder what are the consequences here. And the first consequence, of course, is always, and that is something I will always double down on, never hide. But never hide does not mean put yourself out there in plain public. Never hide means never hide your emotions. When you think that you can simply move on and you hide these emotions, you never show them anywhere, this will have, and there's unambiguous scientific evidence that this will have a massive impact on your mental health. In the long run, it will have severe consequences, which usually end up in a situation where you need professional help. So never hide your emotions. Seek help in your circle of friends and relatives and people you know and acquaintances you can speak to and trust to. And if you need, get professional help. There's no shame in that. However, never hide your emotions. But, and again, never hide your emotions. However, there is a public awareness you need to have. As soon as you put your emotions on display and you are a person that ends up on social media, when your name is known, when people don't like you for whatever reason, and these can be the most random reason. I speak from firsthand experience here as a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. As soon as there's any kind of public awareness, things out there become pretty brutal. And that is something you need to take into consideration. You might harm yourself. You might even harm others. You might harm people around you. You might harm whole entities that are around you. And that was never deliberate in most cases. However, when you did that, it means that other people suffer while you are suffering. And you shouldn't make other people suffer just because you suffer. That's pretty obvious. So the public awareness needs to be there. The number one priority for you always needs to be your mental health. And your mental health is what you need to focus on. As soon as you focus on your mental health, things will become better gradually, step by step from there. When you miss people a lot, when they are not there anymore, this can take a significant amount of time. And I can tell you, I speak from first-hand experience here as well. Mental health needs to be taken care of. That is always the number one. The public awareness is crucial because the public out there is usually not nice, especially when you go on social media. It's an absolute mob out there, many of them who are only there to spread hate online. So when you put these consequences in place, so when you see the reaction yourself, your circumstances, your wider circumstances, you take all of that into consideration and you get help while not hiding from your closest friends and colleagues, then everything will become better from there. And as soon as you put it in place in that way, not going unnecessarily public because you feel pushed to or feel obliged to do so, when you take care of yourself and have the public awareness, everything becomes better from there. And I wish you all the best doing so. And when you now say, oh, that's a tough topic. Yes, it is. It is. Feel free to contact me. So first, of course, when you're watching this on YouTube on our Videocast, feel free to put a like here, subscribe to my channel, leave the bell there, the small alarm bell. Click that, please, so you don't miss any future episodes. Feel free to comment as well. I'm looking forward to having discussions here. Very important also, when you are listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, feel free to leave me a 5-star review. Thank you very much for doing so. And recommend my videocast and podcast amongst friends, colleagues, anywhere. Share it on social media. Thank you very much for that as well. When you now want more, and many people want more, that's why these kind of emails I receive every single week. So first, of course, there's a YouTube channel which you have available right now, which includes YouTube Shorts, only available on YouTube. I usually publish one leadership tip a day, and you find more than 70. We're going straight towards 100 in very quick steps already. So feel free to join there. This is only available on YouTube, so it's worth stepping up and subscribing to the channel and then watching the shorts there. Of course, feel free to subscribe to Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And go to my website, nb-networks.bse, so you see what I do. When you now want to discuss something with me, but you say it's not really for the comment section, either because you want something very specific, training, speaking, coaching, consulting, mentoring, project interim management, whatever it is, drop me a line. But when you just like to discuss something, or you have a question, or you want to suggest a certain topic, you want to discuss something with me personally, drop me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you there. If you now say you want live sessions, we just had one live session last week, a very nice one. expert.nb-networks.com. When you put your email address in there, you will receive only one email every Wednesday morning. It's 100% content at free guarantee. And what you find in this leadership letter, it's 100% free access to all the articles I wrote, 100% free access to all the podcasts I published, and only via the leadership letter, we announce when is the next live session, date and time, and then you can take it from there. It's the only place where we publish that. We're not going to publish live sessions anywhere on social media or anywhere else on our website. It's only for the readers of the leadership letter, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And of course, feel free to follow me on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and looking forward to having discussions with you on there as well. The most important aspect, however, always is the last bit. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive change that you obviously want to see in your organization. If you now say, hey, I'd like to discuss something, feel free to drop me an email, drop me a message on social media. I'm always happy to discuss. Very important here also is that I answer every single message within 24 hours or less. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And now it's time to implement everything. Feel free to contact me, of course, in any way. I'm looking forward to future topics and future discussions. At the end of this podcast and at the end of this video, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.